Fasting is not just about what you stop doing, but it's also about how you begin. If you have ever felt unprepared for a fast or just want to learn more about how to get started, I got you. Whether you are a first timer or you're reconnecting with your fasting practice, I'm going to walk you through how you can prepare your mind, body, and spirit so that your fast is intentional and it feels supportive for you. Peace. I am LA licensed therapist, holistic wellness coach, and guide, and the creator of this channel, Reconnect with You. I wanted to make this video about preparing for a fast because I've been fasting for several years, and looking back on the earlier parts of my journey, I was neglecting the sacredness of the preparation that goes into fasting. I've been fasting again for several years, and my fasting journey began with just one day. And while I've tried a couple of different types of fasting, including water fasting and intermittent fasting, I specifically stick to water fasting. So that is the preparation that this video is going to focus on. But I also feel that the preparation and tips that I'm going to provide here could apply to some other type of fast, so stay tuned for more. I want to share first what I feel fasting is. And fasting for me is an act of kindness and love to my body. And it's really helped me to deepen my connection and my relationship with my body. And it's also a space of rebirth. I spoke in a previous video about how fasting can give you an opportunity to be different on the other side of the fast, to choose to show up differently as you transition out of your fast. And I will make sure that that video is tagged to this video in case you want to check that out. But the first tip, an area of preparation for a fast, is to set your intention. And if you are not familiar with intention setting is similar to a goal, but it's more sacred. And sometimes there is spiritual meaning connected to intentions, but your intention is really important for your fast, for however long you're going to be fasting, because that's where your power is. When you set an intention, what you are communicating to yourself and to the universe, or to whatever higher power you believe in, you are communicating that this is what I envision for myself and what I intend will unfold during this experience. So I want to offer you some reflection questions or just some prompts to support you with setting an intention. So asking yourself questions like, what do I need right now? What am I ready to face or acknowledge or let go of? What can I allow myself to receive during this fast? Those are just a few prompts for you, but I wanted to offer you those to give you some guidance with intention setting. The next step, and I shouldn't even say the next step because these don't have to go in order. This is more so a checklist or a guide for you in preparing for your fast. But next, I want to talk about the type of fast that you're doing, because the type of fast that you're doing is going to be really important for how you approach preparing for that fast. And again, I am going to focus on water fasting because that's where most of my fasting experience has come from. But you want to identify the type of fast that you're doing. For water fasting, that entails you basically refraining from eating food and only consuming water during that period. What I want to share here as well as it relates to the different types of fasts is that you may hear different things about how folks approach fasting. So I want to name that the type of fast that you choose and how you go about navigating that fast is going to be really personal to you. And what's most important is that it feels safe for you and is something that you are receptive to and that you feel capable of doing with yourself. With water fasting, it's important to stick to consuming only water. The most that I've done during my fast is that I may add some salt or Celtic sea salt to my water just for some extra minerals, such as magnesium, which is helpful for you to replenish that during your fast. But you want to know the type of fast that you're doing so that you can know what the parameters are. I want to speak briefly about intermittent fasting because I do have some experience with that. But intermittent fasting is similar to water fasting in the sense that you're going a certain period of time without eating. But with intermittent fasting, there are typically windows where you're not eating. So I remember when I was doing intermittent fasting, I wouldn't eat before 12 or noon. So I wouldn't eat anything in the morning. I would only have water. And then my eating window was from 12 p.m. to, I believe it was 7 p.m. So I was only eating during that time and not eating during any period outside of that. Again, that is how I approach intermittent fasting, but some other folks may have other experiences. And if you have, please share below in the comments. I want to hear how other folks are experiencing their fast. But after you decide what you want to do as far as fasting and the type of fast that you feel is best for you, you want to prepare your body. And what that can look like is doing some gradual preparation as it relates to making changes to what it is that you're consuming and eating leading up to your fast. So one example is you may want to cut back on caffeine, or you may want to start cutting caffeine back. You may also want to cut out things like processed foods. And as it relates to preparing your body, you also want to be intentional about what it is that you consume or what it is that you eat leading up to the fast. One thing that I am really particular about in the days leading up to my fast is making sure that I have enough protein. And the way that having protein supports you, particularly during a water fast, and excuse me, y'all, I am actually in the middle of a fast myself right now. I am on day 2, so I'm breaking my fast tomorrow. I'm going to take a sip of water. But the way that protein supports you during a fast is it helps to reduce muscle loss, and it also supports you in just sustaining your energy during the fast. So that's one reason why I focus on making sure that I have enough protein. Some other ways that you can prepare your body. I just took a sip of water. So that is really important for you to make sure that you are hydrated leading up to your fast. You also want to invite some gentle movement. So doing things like stretching and yoga, going for walks, because you are going to be in a period, especially if you're doing water fasting, where you may not be moving as much because your energy may be lower. So you want to invite some gentle movement in the days leading up to your fast. Something else that's really important is making sure that you get enough rest. One of the things that can happen, and I'm not saying this will be a part of your experience, but because your cortisol levels rise during a fast or during those periods when you're not eating, that can impact your rest and your sleep and your quality of sleep. So you want to make sure that you are getting the rest that you need leading up to your fast. So next, I want to share with you just some rituals and things that I do for grounding and practices that I have to support myself really before and leading up to the fast, but also during the fast. So doing some things like grounding and earthing. So earthing, making contact with the earth, placing your hands in the grass, placing your feet in the grass, walking barefoot in the grass or in soil if you prefer that. These are all examples of earthing. You also want to be out in nature if that resonates with you. I am a nature girl, so I love being outside and spending time in nature. So being in nature can be really grounding and supportive for you as you are gearing up to prepare for a fast. And plug for myself as being a sound journey practitioner, sound therapy is also a really supportive and grounding practice for you. And sound therapy can be done in so many different ways. If you do have instruments that you can use or incorporate, I invite you or encourage you to use those. You can also do sound therapy with practices like humming and chanting and also singing. So those are all forms of sound therapy or sound healing. Journaling is also a big one. And going back to what I said previously about setting your intention, is really good to capture that intention somewhere. If you use the notes app in your phone, that's also a good way to capture your intention. But journaling is a great way to create a space for yourself for reflection and to just think more about why you are doing the fast that you're doing. Something else that you may want to consider for grounding is to do a detox from technology. So this could be having some time away from your phone. This could also entail you taking some time away from social media. And the last grounding ritual and practice that I want to share with you is meditation. I have a daily meditation practice, so whether I'm fasting or not, I am meditating every single day. If you want to incorporate that, I found a lot of benefits for that, including helping inform what my intention is for my fast. I've gotten clarity around that in my meditation, so I wanted to offer meditation as well. The next thing that I want to move into offering is creating a supportive environment for yourself and talking specifically around what that looks like. One thing that comes to mind for me is getting rid of any unhealthy snacks, any junk food in your environment before you start your fast. So I've been fasting for a few years, and I can tell you from experience that when you transition out of your fast, you may be tempted to eat unhealthy foods because you have gone a period of time without eating. You may be tempted to go heavy on the chips, on the cakes, the cookies, the donuts, all of the things that aren't necessarily healthy for you but may taste good in the moment. I would strongly encourage you to get rid of all of that before you start your fast, and to give you an alternative if that feels too strict or rigid for you. At the very least, make sure that you don't have access to them. So if there is a friend or someone that can hold on to that stuff for you until you end your fast or transition out of your fast, I would strongly encourage that. Please trust me. I have experiences, one of which I shared in the video that I mentioned earlier, where I came out of a fast and I really made some poor decisions as it relates to what I chose to eat on the other side of my fast. So that's the first thing that I want to offer you. Some other things that I think can be helpful for you is making sure that you stock up on things like water. Make sure you have the ingredients or the foods that you're going to need for not only those last meals leading up to your fast, but also whatever your break fast meal is, or rather the meal that you're going to use to break your fast. Something else that I think can be supportive for you is sharing with the folks that you trust and feel connected to, your tribe, your community, your close family or loved ones, that you are entering a fast. And this helps to create accountability for you. It's also supportive because they may check on you during your fast, or you may be able to share with them on the other side, this is what this fast was like for me. And this is optional, but I have found it to be supportive. And even if those are people who also fast, they may opt to join you in your fast. And I've talked about before here around just the importance of creating community around fasting and how powerful that can be for your fasting practice, and how it just helps to hold you accountable to your fasting. So that is something else that I want to offer you just as it relates to creating community around fasting. You also want to make sure that your space is clean and clear as best as you can. I don't recommend that you wait until you have a clean space to fast. That's not what I'm saying. What I do want to share is that you want to be intentional about the energy that is in your space. And one way that I have found to be helpful and supportive for me before I enter a fast is to make sure that my space is clean, make sure that it's not looking cluttered, and that it's not bringing this energy that feels heavy or just that feels unpleasant as I am going into my fast. So clean and tidy up your space. Get rid of any clutter, again, as best as you can. The last thing that I want to mention, and this is one of the most important ones, and there are two sides of it. You want to make sure that you are planning your meals, or the meals that you're going to have before your fast, especially that last meal. Make that be a good time for you. Make that be your favorite meal if you can. I actually love planning out whatever that last meal is, because I know that it's like, okay, this is my last opportunity, at least for a time, to consume food. So I want to make it count. Make sure that you choose a meal that is nourishing for you and that feels good for you and that you can feel good about as your last meal. On the other end of your fast, you want to make sure that you plan whatever that last meal is. I've done a variety of different things. What I found that my body absolutely loves is smoothies. My body loves smoothies. I would say smoothies and fresh juice, but I think smoothies even more than fresh juice. And that's because it is a light meal and it's not going to weigh you down or make you feel lethargic or tired after you transition from your fast. So make sure that you are really clear and specific on what it is that you're going to have on the other side of your fast. And if you decide to dine at a restaurant, which I have also done, make sure that you take a look at the menu before you start your fast and identify the meal that you're going to have. And I talk about that more in my previous video, which again, I'll make sure is linked below and is connected to this video so that you can check that out. Some other considerations that I want to offer you is to have a journal. Have a way to capture your notes and your reflections and just different things that are coming up for you during your fast. I think of fasting as a container. So it's something that starts and then it ends, and there's some in between. So there's a lot of clarity and guidance and messages that can come up for you in that in-between period. And you want to make sure you have somewhere to capture all of that. So I found that keeping a journal is really supportive for me. I actually was, as I was preparing to record this video, I was looking back at some of my journal entries, some of my intentions that I've set, and also just some growth that I've noticed in myself with my fasting over the years. So keeping a journal can help you keep track of and reflect on all of that. Something else that I want to offer you, some other reflections, is that before the fast actually begins, there is a lot of preparation and sacredness that goes into the process. So don't think that fasting is this thing where it's like, okay, I'm not eating for this period of time and then I stop this fast. The fasting begins before it begins. And something else that I want to offer you is that I have learned that it's not just about preparing the meals that you have before and after your fast, but it's also about making sure that I am in the right headspace. It's about preparing my space. It is also about preparing my energy for a fasting period. I actually had a fast, I believe it was either last month or the month before, where I had to push my fast back a week because I just was not in the space. I hadn't had the nutrients that I felt like I needed to sustain me during that fast, so I decided to postpone it. And I felt really good about that because I still fasted during that month, but it was acknowledging that I wasn't ready. So it's really important that you are preparing yourself for a fast, not just from the standpoint of food, but also thinking about other environmental factors. The last thing that I want to share with you as far as other considerations is that your fasting practice will evolve. So if you are just getting started, I want to welcome you, and I want to let you know that even your trying counts. If you decide that you want to start fasting for a half day or for a few hours to build up your endurance, I strongly encourage you to do that. My longest fast to date, my longest water fast to date was 14 days. But I got to 14 days by starting with just one day. So I want to remind you that it will evolve over time. but you have to start somewhere. To close us out, I want to share with you that there is no perfect way to fast. And in fact, fasting is not about perfection. It's not about getting it right. It is about listening more deeply to yourself, tuning in to your body and what your body needs. And it's also about allowing yourself to just be. It's about slowing down and tuning inward and remembering that your presence and the intention that you set for yourself during your fast are enough. I want to share with you as well that I am putting together my first fasting preparation guide and checklist. So I invite you to check that out in the description box below. I'm also going to be sharing that in the community section so that you can see it there. But I'm really excited about that because I think this is a time that we're living in where there are just all these global challenges on top of the personal and individual challenges that we may all be experiencing. So I invite you to check out that fasting preparation guide and checklist that I am creating just for you, for folks who are either really deep into their fasting practice or folks who are new to the practice. If you found any of what I've offered here helpful, please like and share this video. I also invite you to subscribe to the channel because there is more wisdom where this video came from. And let me know in the comments, what is your intention for your next fast? I want to hear from y'all about how fasting is going for you, and also just about what's coming up for you as you are fasting or even thinking about and planning for fasting. Well, that is all I have for y'all for today. I look forward to connecting with y'all again soon, but in the meantime, reconnect with you. Peace.